So I think it can be also valuable inspiration for women in professional settings. So for the female workers, the bees, there is no competition or hierarchy based on gender, for example.
Important.
Exactly. They are like united to have a common and shared responsibility. And they collaborate. So the connections and the way they work with each other is collaborative. So it's in the same way we should support and uplift each other and promoting this diverse experience we have. And this collaborative approach can also help counteract, the queen bee syndrome, which bees don't have.
She is Daniela Budcu, the visionary behind a brand that not only promotes mental health, but takes inspiration from the incredible life cycles and resilience of bees. In this episode, she's sharing how the wisdom of bees has deeply influenced her journey and insights on leadership, in personal growth, and creating impactful workplace cultures. She explains how bees practice resilience, community, and focus qualities that are essentials for both personal growth and professional success. So as I always said, please grab a cup of coffee or tea and get ready to learn from this episode of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. Welcome. Welcome one more time to another episode of the Brilliantly Branded podcast. My guest today is a woman, the creator of a brand with a strong purpose, the reason why I invite her today. She is a part of the digital marketing world and the creator of this brand that she calls Be Well. She is combining her expertise in marketing with beekeeping and with an incredible purpose of enhancing mental wellness. I think nowadays, this is one of the most important things that we need to keep in our mind. So she has managing diverse teams, leading innovative projects, and her knowledge about the bees, the behaviors of the bees, is going to give us a valuable lessons and how we can apply that and follow the example of the nature of the bees to apply in our lives. So my guest today is Daniela Budcu. And welcome, Daniela, to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. And could you share with us your journey and the inspiration behind the creation of your new brand?
Hello, Maria. I'm very excited and emotional to be here, to be a guest in your podcast. It's actually an honor, and I feel very emotional because we were going to talk about a topic that is very, very close to my heart. So thank you so much for the invite. Now getting back to the topic, I will start with some like a story. Let's say, since I was a kid, I had a deep fascinations for insects, but especially for bees. So I found that it was something magical about them, and I used to sit in my grandmother's garden. With a book in my hands and just immersing myself in nature and listening this buzzing of the bees that was at that time very calming for me. So there is something very, very deep inside me in the connection with the bees. And my story as a beekeeper started actually 3 years ago. I didn't know at that time it was the International Day of Bees, May 20. The birthday of my mom. A friend called me and he said, I saw a swarm of bees in a tree. I didn't know who to call. I don't know if you like bees. Would you help me to collect those bees? Bee swarm. So we were going to dive deep into that topic maybe later. So I joined him in this experience and I was super excited. And he said, okay, those bees can be yours. And I was like, this is the most amazing gift I got for my birthday. My birthday, it's 2 weeks after. So that's my journey. This is how I start to have my own bees. And then it becomes a hobby, a lifetime hobby, I suppose. So I would like to connect this moment of having the bees because I was going through a very difficult moment in my life. I was going through a divorce at that time. So I navigated in this emotional period, spending a lot of time with my bees, taking care of them, learning about them, because I didn't know anything about how to take care of, thousands of bees, and how to to help them because they are like a little swarm, very how to say, they are not very strong. So it was a journey, but that helped me also to ground myself in that period, and it brought some kind of a light and a magical moment in my life.
That is incredible how a challenging moment in our life end up making bring new things and making us feeling more creative to connect with our roots. As you will mention, having your roots and your family and growing up and liking the insects and all this world make you connect with that. And then is as well the creation of your brand, Be Well. That is basically the result of all this process, because a hobby that is what you really like, then end up being converted in a brand. So to give it a little bit of context to our audiences, can you explain to us a little bit about the behaviors of the bees and what actually exemplified, for example, the resilience that they are having or how they are working, particularly related with the tasks that they are developing?
Yes. So yeah, my brand Be Well is let's say it's a brand. So I got the idea because I saw how much it helped me to be in nature. Because sometimes during our lives we forget. Maybe we live in big cities and we work a lot, and we go and strive to accomplish our goals. So maybe sometimes we forgot to take care of grounding ourselves in nature. So nature is part of us. It was incorporated in ourselves. As I said, when I was a kid, I was spending a lot of time in nature, and I think a lot of people. So that was the idea of building a program, actually. And in my company, in my day-to-day job, I work as a content, a digital marketer, and now recently to a more broader job in the product development. So I wanted to implement this in my company. So I built this program called Be Well. So nurturing mental health through beekeeping. So that's the story. But talking about the bees and their resilience and focus, and it's interesting to make this analogy in between bees and how we human have so much in common with them. And bees, we know that it's an insect that is dating back millions of years back, and they have highly organized colonies, and they have specific roles, and they developed remarkable complexity and wisdom within them millions of years. So I think we can learn from these millennial wisdoms and try to get a view from nature and bees specifically. So bees are kind of, because they are eusocial insects, which means they are in a very high structure colony. So they are not solitary insects, honeybees, sorry, because we have over 20,000 different species of bees and also solitary bees. So let's not forget about them. They are very important. But specifically Apis mellifera, which we have in Europe, it's a honeybee, is the most common bee. They live in social structures.
Okay.
So getting back to the resilience and focus, they need to feed themselves. So the foraging, the act of foraging, so getting out to search for food, they travel up to 8-12 kilometers in search of nectar and pollen. And despite all the obstacles and adverse weather conditions, predators, fluctuations in flower, because some years, like this year in Luxembourg, and not only it was not very good for bees because of the weather conditions, they didn't have too much food. They persistently continue to foraging, to go out and search for food. So they have these adaptations that allows them to cope with even like lower oxygen for high altitude and colder temperatures. So this is an amazing example of resilience.
Well, that is amazing. Yes. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible what you are explaining, because a part of what I have been seeing normally is how, and you mentioned as well, the sense of community. So building and sharing and being in community, that is something that we need to learn a lot about that. So how do you think those behaviors that they have are going to be or could be put in practice in the corporate world that you are now being part of?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, they are eusocial insects, so they live together in a colony. And they have very specialized roles. So first of all, they have a division of the work they do in the colony. So they have specific tasks. So like foraging, as I already mentioned, nursing. They take care of larvae and pupae. So during the life cycle of the bee development, they clean the hive. They are guardians of the hive to protect the hive. They are having different roles, and these divisions of labor, let's say it goes through their lifetime, and they learn from each other. So similarly, I think in our work in corporates or in our companies, we can leverage unique strengths and skills and expertise from different individuals. We learn from each other. We get to learn new tasks and new job roles. So it's kind of the same structure. So they also have how to say, they develop those skills in during the time. So they don't go from the first day foraging outside. They start with like minor jobs, like cleaning their own cells, for example, and then they clean the other cells. Then they go promoted to clean the queen cells. So and so on. So I think it's a very good analogy of the way that we are organized in our society. Then because they live together, they need to have a collective decision making. So when it comes to decisions, like swarming, for example, it's when they go out with half of the colony, with half of the bees in the colony, and with the old queen, because they created a new queen that will remain in the colony. It's a complex thing, swarming, but they need to have a common decision because they need to select a new site where they need to build a new hive. So they engage in a form of collective decision making. And they have scouts that go and explore the potential sites, and they evaluate the chosen place and the best options through this feedback that they give to each other. So it's a very complex way they communicate with each other, and this can mirror also the importance of like having a decision making in corporate settings or in companies, and to have diverse perspectives and lead from collective perspective.
That is fascinating, Daniela.
Because they trust each other, right, to take those decisions because they need to survive, and they go very naturally in these group settings of worker based and trusting, responsibility, work efficiently, providing resources, finding resources. So it's a very fascinating the way they work together.
It is fascinating, and actually connecting that with your purpose of mental health. How do you think that maybe you can advise people that are now in this corporate world and wanted to have this kind of example, leading by example, and go and see how the process of bees are doing and how we can learn from them in order of mental health? What would you be your advice for them?
Yeah, I think observing the bees in their natural environment and learning more about them and the way they work can inspire us to seek for more balance, because they are naturally balanced. And I think this is mostly the connection with nature that we have, and we seek, and we need to have time to allocate time to connect with nature. The bees are very connected with like the flowers, the plants, the ecosystems, because it's important for their survival. So I think we humans can benefit from these connections with nature, slowing down, calming down, that help our mental health. And this is what I've done when I started beekeeping, because as a beekeeper, you need to be very calm. When you open the hive and those 20,000 bees that you have in a hive, sorry, can like fly all over you. So you need to be calm. So
Yeah.
I think that was the first step that helped me to balance my mental health.
Yeah.
First of all, spending time outdoors, that we know that it's very important. So even like if you work in, we all work in the offices, taking time like during lunch break to have a walk, and then maybe weekends gardening, engaging with outdoors activities. And Luxembourg, it's such a great example to go outdoors and spend time in nature. And beekeeping is one of the activities that will offer you more time, and also to learn new skills. And also being part of a community, because I'm not alone as a beekeeper. I'm learning from other beekeepers. We have so many beekeeping clubs in Luxembourg, and we all help each other. So beekeeping is an amazing tool for mental health. And I think from bees, learning to be present, because they're very focused on their task. You can observe them. They do like from foraging to caring for the brood, to maintaining the hive. We can learn to practice being present in the moment, rather than like constantly worrying about past or future. We just can learn from them in that aspect. Yeah. And then also
it's 1,000 of lessons, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 1,000 of lessons that I am learning now, and I know that our listeners are going to learn. And I would love to know a little bit more about this program that you have through your brand, because how that works, how the people, or what the people can expect about this program, because it's connected with the mental health. That is your main purpose. But people can go there, and what happened in one day in this program?
Yes, thank you for asking about that. So the way I developed this program by myself in my company was to bring people and teach them about the cyclicity of the bees, because we start working with the bees in February, March, observing what happened in the hive during the winter. And the way I developed this program was, let's have a lesson every month. And let's go outside 1.5 hours during lunchtime. You can even pick up your lunch after and have kind of a picnic, and observing the bees first of all, and then teaching them different things that happen in a hive in that period of time. So in spring, when I'm as a beekeeper, I'm looking to see if everything is in order, if there is not any problem or disease or mold, because winter is very rainy and cold. So hive maintenance, teaching them hive maintenance, and then first of all about bees, why they are important. And then the harvest period, which happens for me, I extract the honey only 1 time per year. The rest
really,
I try to do sustainable beekeeping. So I try to teach them how to be more sustainable, to think about bees, not only about collecting the honey, because that's not the most important part of the program.
Yeah. Okay.
And offering them a meaningful activity that can also help them to build some soft skills, like learning from the bees, because this is the topic, like problem solving, critical thinking. When now the bees, they need to take some decisions, because the hive can have a problem. Honeycombs can get destroyed. They can be attacked by mouses or different predators. So you need to have critical thinking and find solutions. Also patience and attention to details in the management of the hive. So, and the most important part being in nature, helping them to relax from these day-to-day job activities and focus on something that it's close to nature.
I'm so proud of what you are doing.
That was the idea. Yes.
I'm so proud of what you are doing, Daniela, because it's a different way to really generate that awareness about our mental health and learning from nature, learning from something that we have in front of us, that we need to know how that works. And part of the things that probably in our previous conversation you mentioned, it is the cycle that they have. So the life cycle, and actually you mentioned now that based on the seasons, they have a different cycles. But one of the things that you mentioned, it was how they are accepting the endings. So my question, it will be how we can compare that in our professional life in order for us to accept these transitions or this change that actually you recently have a change in your career. So how we really can compare that and learn from them about how to assume these new changes?
Changes, yeah, they are very resilient to changes, especially with all kind of transitions. So because they go through different life cycles, like swarming, the queen dies, so they need to requeening. It's a process called requeening, adapting to seasonal changes, to all kind of disruptions in the natural processes, but also environmental and like pesticides, for example.
Mm.
So also human interventions, right, that are very dangerous for them. So they have an incredible way of adapting. So viewing, like adopting a similar mindset as the bees have, like viewing those transitions as a way to move forward, to find solutions, not an abrupt ending for them, but because this is life-threatening for them, but it's a natural phases in the life cycle. It's the same in our projects, for example, with transitions, we close the project, we navigate those transitions, we find like new way of building improvement to the projects. It's like the forward thinking mindset, and also channeling your energy in phases. I think this is something that we can learn from them, and also in the knowledge sharing. So sometimes you need to end a project or to pass a project to someone else. So they learn from each other, and the only thought is we need to have a success colony because we need to live. Similar, like our professional life, we should prioritize also knowledge sharing, and in those periods of like transitions or endings, and to apply best practices, to let to have this forward thinking, to let this to others, to help them to start new projects or to continue the project. So I found, yeah, this could be an analogy actually
Of course,
the
yes.
way they accept the endings or transition to a new phase.
Yeah, this is crazy, and I am just trying to get it all the information, because the other thing is their body language. The body language is the way, and we mentioned that before in our conversation when you was telling me that they have a different way to communicate to their teams about the quality of food. So if you wanted to share with us a little bit about how that works, because actually, and comparing that with how we are communicating between our teams, the body language is something very important. So how we can really compare that with the bees?
So the body language, yeah, we are very careful when we talk with someone or interact with someone, what they transmit also, not only with the words, but also with the body language. And bees have an interesting way of communicating. So they integrate different sensory, like smell, smell and vision also, because they have a very incredible sense of vision. And the way they transmit where the food is, for example, it's called the waggle dance. So they communicate to each other in the dark, in the hive, through this waggle dance, signal to other bees where the food is in direction of the sun. So it's a pretty complex way of
Dancing.
of
Choreography.
Yes, but they also communicate through pheromones, actually.
Oh, wow.
So thinking about the olfactory, how they kind of combine those senses they have. So they coordinate the colony through olfactory senses. Also, they smell the pheromones of the queen, so they know where the queen is all the time. So especially in swarming is very important. They recognize the nest because they need to recognize the nest when they come back. And this is also another way of communicating through smells. And also in the social interactions they have with each other. So in the mating process, the queen is mating. So it's kind of recognize your own siblings. So it's very interesting.
Okay. That is incredible. I think it's a lot of information, Daniela, that we can spend here hours and hours, because I think I have a lot to learn from them. And just to start to wrap up, and actually as our purpose and my purpose in the podcast is women empowerment, for me it's important to know how you see the way that the bees are acting and how we can, because they are building big things, things that are representative. So my last question, it will be how we can really inspire the women in our professional environments to setting up this support between each other and to really leverage this collective empowerment.
Yeah, so the fact that the vast majority of the bees are female workers, we also have males, but female workers play a critical role because they are the majority of the hives. So I think it can be also valuable inspiration for women in professional settings. So for the female workers, the bees, there is no competition or hierarchy based on gender, for example.
Important.
Exactly. They are like united to have a common and shared responsibility. And they collaborate. So the connections and the way they work with each other is collaborative. So it's in the same way we should support and uplift each other and promoting this diverse experience we have. And this collaborative approach can also help counteract the queen bee syndrome that sometimes we see in the workplace.
Yes.
The queen bee syndrome, just to explain for who maybe is not familiar, is this phenomenon where successful women that strive to arrive in top and have a leadership position, they can sometimes act in a way that is not supportive to other women. So they kind of want to maintain their own elite and distance themselves from the collective challenges faced by women in the same organizations. So that's the queen bee syndrome, which bees don't have, even though they have a queen.
That is incredible. I love that you are talking about that, because actually in past episodes we talk about the queen bee syndrome, and a lot of people make the comment about that. But now that you make the clarification about, they don't have this syndrome, actually, it's incredible.
Yes. And I think that the woman empower woman, that's one topic, because I'm also very involved in my work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So from my experience as a DI ambassador, most of women I interview, they said they rely on having female role models. And we had this team like Woman Empower Woman. So that could be an amazing learning that we can have from bees, and
Yes.
mentoring other women, sharing knowledge. We can take those mentorship role for others and passing this knowledge and guidance to support other women advancement in like our young colleagues, for example, that are new to the role, to the company. So it's the same kind of hive intergenerational knowledge transfer. When
Exactly.
they learn their own cell and then the other cell, and then they go to different roles and they evolve, it's kind of the same way we should support each other. So that's
I love the message.
Interesting question.
I love the message, Daniela, and I have to say thank you, because I think this is part of what we need to be aware of. Helping and supporting between us is really so powerful, and I have been realizing that here in the podcast, and how giving that power and that support is really something that doesn't have it's, I don't know even sometimes how to express that, because it's so powerful that even I think that we as a women don't realize that. So I'm happy that you say that. I have to say thank you for coming here. I don't know if you want to add something else where people can contact you and join your program as well.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I am happy to respond to any other questions because I also have some beekeeping lessons, not only in my company. I collaborate with different associations in Luxembourg, like Culture Association. There is another association that takes care of wild bees because they are also important, called Bee Libre. So we had some programs that we developed together. And you can follow me on Instagram and Be Well Buzz. That's my profile.
Okay.
And I also wanted to mention that this initiative of like taking care of bees and trying to develop some programs and awareness for other people, because I really think we can learn a lot from nature and especially from bees, brought me to more opportunities. Therefore, I got to know other two Luxembourgish-based professionals that have the same passion for bees as me. And together we found another association called LëtzBee. So that's new. It's still in development, but we want to engage with local communities and school and businesses and also bring this awareness about environment and the bees. How important are the bees for our ecosystem, but also for us because we learn from them. And we can find really valuable lessons just immersing ourselves in nature or learning a new skill like beekeeping.
You're right, and I will be there for sure. So thank you very much, Daniela, for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. Have a good day.
I'm grateful by having you as a listener on this episode. I am in the mission of empowering thousands of women around the globe, and I need your support for that. Help me to spread the voice by sharing this episode and subscribe to our social media channels. And remember, if you want to listen to exceptional stories and have someone that inspires you, please get in touch with me because I will love to have them as a guest to learn from their experience and share their story with you next time. So until the next episode, ciao, ciao.